There's still fish in this lake. I think there's still some hungry fish.
Give it a shot.
Oh, I saw something up there.
These areas that were formerly fishless in large lakes, 95% of large lakes now have introduced fish, and about 60% of the smaller ones. So, in terms of being a kind of widespread ecological experiment, really, it's one of the biggest ones that we've ever conducted culturally.
Did you lose? We got lost one there?
No, lost one out of jug.
Oh no, yeah, any upside down. I've got no losses so far. The big controversy is, one, they're not naturally in the lakes. And so a lot of people don't want to see anything that isn't naturally in the lake. And that's an understandable position. We're in a wilderness area. We're trying to keep this pristine, untrammeled by man. On the other hand, we do allow and support recreation in wilderness areas. We allow hunting, we build trails, or we generally maintain trails and don't build new ones. And I see stocking as a quite similar. We're supporting a historical recreational fishery. And to me, I only support it if it's going to be sustainable and we're not going to be harming native species. And from what I've been able to see, from my own experience, we're able to accomplish that with this low density and frequent stocking plans.
The problem is that these are, it's the introduction of a large top predator into a system that didn't previously have any fish at all. And so it really does have a dramatic effect on the ecology of those sites. The main one being that they're predators. And so where you introduce fish, it really changes the whole structure of the food web, starting with impacts on amphibians, which had otherwise been the top predators. And so fish eat tadpoles, they eat salamander larvae. If they're big enough, they would eat some of the adults. And even at really low densities of fish, low numbers of fish, you can get almost complete exclusion of those amphibians. And then there are kind of downstream effects of that.
There's a lot of biological issues also, but there's a lot of social issues here too that, what's right? How should we be making decisions about land use, and how should we be managing these lakes? It's about balance, in my opinion. It's about finding a way to make sure that we're meeting the needs, the conservation objectives of the state, and also offering some opportunity for the folks that want to come into the high lakes and have the ability to fish and to catch fish. But I'm also aware that there is an impact. There's a price to pay.
Balance is always kind of a funny concept in ecology. So I don't know if I would choose that word, but I think, different jurisdictions are making decisions about how to deal with fish. North Cascades National Park, for example, has a fisheries management plan that they've gone through and identified, which are the lakes where the fish are self-sustaining, which are the lakes where they're actually healthy populations. So in some places you go up and the fish have so little food that they're small, they're stunted, they're not even, it's not a great sport fishing experience because they will basically bite at anything because they're starving. So they've really, I think, looked at that and said, okay, well, what are the sites that are ecologically important and are maybe culturally less important sites, and maybe those are sites that we can prioritize fish removal efforts. We set 15 nets in the upper lake and 15 nets in the lower lake. Tomorrow we're gonna check the nets in the morning, and we'll continue to check the nets every 12 to 24 hours and take out any of the fish that have swum into them and died.
So you have mechanical removal, you have chemical removal, and you have a biological method of removal. Mechanical is pretty straightforward. You use some kind, you actively go in there and try to remove those fish using gear of some kind. The most common, especially in alpine systems, you're thinking about gill nets primarily, because they're a passive gear. You can set a lot of gill nets, but you don't have to sit on those gill nets. So it's not as staff intensive, and you could set several gill nets with a few staff members over a week, and really have an impact to that population.
It gets at a lot of the sort of deep, I think, philosophical components of how we think about nature and ourselves in nature. And there's one version of the story where it's, the human manipulators come in and change the landscape and destroy native systems. And there's another version of the story, which is we're a part of nature and we do these things that have implications, and then we learn from them, and it changes how we think about wild spaces and wilderness and nature and that kind of thing.
What I love to do is come fish the high lakes. I don't know what else to say. I love hiking, love the views, the wilderness, the challenge, the route finding, and if I can catch fish, it's just a pure bonus. It's great. It doesn't matter. I love to come up and fish. If I don't catch anything, totally cool with that. I still have a great time. If I can catch fish, this makes the frosting on the cake. It's great.
My name's Maureen Ryan. I am the David H. Smith Conservation Research Fellow at the University of Washington, and I'm also adjunct faculty at Fairhaven College of Interdisciplinary Studies at Western Washington University.
I am Justin Spinelli. I'm a regional fish biologist for the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife.
Okay. My name is Brian Curtis. I'm a volunteer with the Trailblazers, and we volunteer for the Department of Fish and Wildlife.
I'm Larry Phillips with Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. I'm the district fish biologist for South Puget Sound.
My name's Madeline Ekman. I work for the North Cascades National Park as a biological technician. This is my 4th season working for the park.
Nothing but cheer. Your family and your friends, they are so proud of you. It's time to start to do those things. The goals you set, the ones you call your dreams, but how hard do you try? You're lucky to be alive.